We're getting a unique look at the Oklahoma tornado tragedy through the lens of the Oklahoma National Guard. Now, members of the Guard created a documentary called The Day of Days. They shared with us what it was like in the aftermath of the tornado and creating this particular documentary.
At that tornado. Wow, look.
It was kind of a typical Oklahoma storm. Clouds, lightning, rain. But as some Oklahoma storms do, this one had tornadoes with it.
We arrived on scene, and you just want to get to work. You see the destruction all around you, and I've been asked this a lot, and the only thing I could ever compare it to is I'm sure you've seen The Walking Dead, and just driving through the neighborhood, the amount of people that were just aimlessly walking about, pushing carts with the few items that they could get out of their house, with nowhere to go. And it was kind of sad, really sad, to be honest.
Approaching it, it just seemed normal. But as you got there, if you can imagine just taking a house, putting it through a shredder and blowing it all over the area, there really wasn't anything recognizable.
We wanted to put together a video to document what it was we did, but then we said, what is the big picture, what's the main story, and how can we tie all these little stories into the big story? Because that's what I think 20, 30, 100 years down the road, I think people are going to want to see when they think about, May 20th and they think about if they were affected or want to do some research on it or whatever, they're going to want to see what was the big picture. So we said, we're going to do this now.
Wow, amazing story. Well, folks, keep it right here, because coming up after the break, I'm going to speak to members of the Guard who put this whole thing together, why they chose this event, and how you can see the documentary. We're going to answer those questions coming up in about 5 minutes. We were also touched by the Moore, Oklahoma tornado back in May, and most of us were watching it on TV. And, well, the men and women of the Oklahoma National Guard were right there. They were on the scene, and they've created a documentary about the event. Now, joining us live this morning via Skype is Sergeant Christopher Bruce and Colonel Max Moss, the Oklahoma National Guard Director of Public Affairs. Colonel Moss, the Oklahoma National Guard is, you do so many things, not only here in the States, you're deployed overseas, downrange in Iraq and Afghanistan. What made you come up with the idea of putting together a documentary on Moore, Oklahoma?
Well, Reynolds, we thought it was really important to capture the collective effort of civilian law enforcement agencies, first responders, and the National Guard working together to help the citizens of Moore and South Oklahoma City.
Now, gentlemen, I got to ask you, you go to so many places around the world, having to deal with this kind of scenario. For many of your soldiers, they happen to be in their own hometown watching this disaster unfold. How did that affect the troops?
Well, for a lot of our soldiers, they join the Guard to be able to help their fellow citizens. It's one of the most important things that we do. And several of our soldiers were actually impacted by this tornado. They lost homes. So to see them step up and put community first is really what they're all about. And, of course, we're very proud of their efforts.
Oh, understandably so. I do have to ask you, though, when it comes to the documentary, the title, The Day of Days, where did that come from? Either one of you feel free to answer, please.
Well, basically, we decided that we had a kind of a late storm season this year, but there was about a 2-week span where we really had some pretty significant weather. And even the day before May 20th, May 19th, there was a EF4 tornado that was in Shawnee. And we had about 2 weeks of really bad weather, so lots of days. But the one that we're really going to remember when we look back on 2013, and the one that did significant damage because of its location, was May 19th, and that was the day that we'll remember. So that's kind of why we decided it's going to be the Day of Days.
I see. And very quickly, we've got about 30 seconds left. Can you tell our viewers how they can see this great documentary?
They can log on to oklahomafrontline.com/dayofdays. And basically, we have a 23-minute documentary that shows everything that we did, all the response, as well as an electronic book, a PDF format book that they can download. It's well over 100 pages, and it shows all kinds of pictures, images, and everything to tell the entire story.
Okay, gentlemen, well, thank you so much. We're out of time. Thanks so much for your service. We've got more coming up.